Hare Krishna, my friends. Welcome to Bhaktiville. We are here. It's Friday night in Bhaktiville and the world, at least this part of the world, and we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam. I apologize for the canceled classes lately, but I think we're back on schedule again. Tonight we're here at the Panca Tattva Mandir, built by longtime Second Life resident Khandita dasi, who is unable to attend tonight, I'm sorry to say. But Bhaktiville and I are both here, and we will be reading. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, there were those 6 questions asked back at the beginning. And the first one, what is the ultimate good, is being answered here in chapter 2. Pretty much all of chapter 2 is the answer to that question. So let's go ahead and get started. So tonight we're on chapter 2, text 13, page 122 of the PDF, or page 101 of the book. Oh, I don't think that's right. Page 101 of the book. That one there. Yeah, 101. That is right. Okay, good. I thought I hadn't changed that one. So let's go ahead and start reading our verses that we read before Bhagavatam. They're up there on the board here in the temple, so you can sing along with us. Sing along with Satya. Sing along with Dasi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mimulus, I think your mic is still on. O my Lord, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Let me just change the slideshow. All right. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Bhaktiville was singing along with us. I actually kind of like that. So here's the next verse up on the board. Shrinvatam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana vidyanta stohya badrani vidhunoti suhritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, Supersoul, in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. And then the last verse. Oops, you changed already. Thank you. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. I'm just going to adjust my sound and let me know, is that any better, Bhaktiville? Can you hear me? It's good. Okay, good. All right, so we are on page 101, the very bottom. So we're actually on page 102 or page 122 of the PDF. And we'll go through singing the um, the Sanskrit words together, and then we'll sing the whole thing together. Ataha pumbir dvija shreshta. Atta pumbir dvija shreshta. Varnashram vibhagashaha. Varnashram vibhagashaha. Svanushthitasya dharmasya. Svanutitasya dharmasya. Samsiddhir haritoshanam. Samsiddhir haritoshanam. All right, let's sing the whole thing all together. Atapumbir dvija shreshta varnashram vibhagashaha svanushthitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. Word for word. Ataha, so, pumbihi, by the human being, dvija shreshtaha, O best among the twice born, varnashram, institution of 4 castes and orders of life, vibhagasya, by the division of, svanutishtasya, of one's own prescribed duties, dharmasya, occupational, samsiddhihi, highest perfection, hari, the personality of Godhead, toshanam, pleasing. Translation. O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging his prescribed duties, his dharma, according to caste divisions and order of life, is to please Lord Hari. That's the answer to the first question. The whole chapter is, but that's a very concise answer. Purport. Human society all over the world is divided into 4 castes and 4 orders of life. The 4 castes are the intelligent caste, the martial caste, the productive caste, and the laborer caste. These castes are classified in terms of one's work and qualification, and not by birth. Then again, there are the 4 orders of life, namely student life, the householder's life, the retired, and the devotional life. In the best interest of human society, there must be divisions of life. Otherwise, no social institution can grow up in a healthy state. And in each and every one of the above-mentioned divisions of life, the aim must be to please the supreme authority of the personality of Godhead. This institutional function of human society is known as the system of Varnashram Dharma, which is quite natural for the civilized life. The Varna Ashram Dharma institution is constructed to enable one to realize the absolute truth. It is not for artificial domination of one division over the other. When the aim of life, i.e., realization of the absolute truth, is missed by too much attachment for indriya priti, or sense gratification, as it is already discussed hereinbefore, the institution of the varnashram is utilized by selfish men to pose an artificial predominance over the weaker section, which is what we see now in India. In the Kali Yuga, or in the age of quarrel, this artificial predominance is already current, but the saner section of the people know it well, that the division of castes and orders of life are meant for smooth social intercourse, high thinking, self-realization, and not for any other purpose. Herein, the statement of Bhagavatam is that the highest aim of life, or the highest perfection of the institution of the Varnashram Dharma, is to cooperate jointly for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, which is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 4:13. And that verse is, just to refresh your memory, that very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you, speaking to Arjuna and to you, because you are my devotee as well as my friend. Therefore, you can understand the transcendental mystery of this science. All right, text 14. Tasmad ekana manasa, tasmad ekana manasa, Bhagavan Sattvatam Pattihi, Bhagavan Sattvatam Pattihi, Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha, Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha, Dhyeya Pujascha Nityada, Dhyeya Pujascha Nityada. All right, let's chant the whole thing all together. Tasmadekana manasa Bhagavan Sattvatam Patihi Rotavya Kirti Tavyascha Yeya Pujascha Nityada. Word Tasmat, therefore, Ekana, by one, Manasa, attention of the mind, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Sattvatam, of the devotees, Patihi, protector, Shrotavya, is to be heard, Kirtitavya, to be glorified, Cha, and Dhyeha, to be remembered, Pujaha, to be worshipped, Cha, and Nityada, constantly. Translation. Therefore, devotees should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, who is their protector. Oh, here, Bhakti Mimulus has written something in the text. Bhakti Mimulus says, it sounds like socialism. Someone told me socialism is a form of government, but it's more than that. So you're referring to Varnashram Dharma? Oh, the joint cooperation, yes. Well, the system as it is originally uh, stated or used, the Brahmins were performing rituals for different people and they were um, paid by barter. And then the people were growing things in their fields and they could use that to pay for that. And the Kshatriyas were protecting everyone and people were helping them. It was everyone was working together. It was joint cooperation, as he says. The people were in government making sure that everyone was taken care of. There were farmers, the people who were doing art and such, and everyone is working together. So yeah, joint cooperation. It's like a commune, Vedic commune. And Bhakti Mimula says, but has it ever worked? Krishna was at war, Rama was at war. Well, there were years before they were at war, but both those war leelas were Kshatriya things, and they were protecting people as they needed to be. But the farmers were still farming, and the Shudras were still making art and cloth and doing those things, and he was protecting them from any kind of abuse or being killed by the opposing forces. So in the itihasas, in the histories, it looks like it worked. But that was many, many yugas ago, right? It was a very long time ago. All right, let me read this translation again. Therefore, devotees should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead Bhagavan, who is their protector. Purport. If realization of the absolute truth is the ultimate aim of life, it must be carried out by all means. In any one of the above-mentioned castes and orders of life, the four processes, namely glorifying, hearing, remembering, and worshipping, are general occupations. Without these principles of life, no one can exist. Activities of the living being involve engagements in these four different principles of life. Especially in modern society, all activities are more or less dependent on hearing and glorifying. Any man from any social status becomes a well-known man in human society within a very short time. He is simply glorified truly or falsely in the daily newspapers. Sometimes political leaders of a particular party are also advertised by newspaper propaganda, and by such glorifying method, an insignificant man becomes an important man within no time. But such propaganda work by false glorification of an unqualified person cannot bring about any good, either for the particular man or for the society. There may be some temporary reactions to such propaganda, but there are no permanent effects. Therefore, such activities are a waste of time. The actual object of glorification is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has created everything manifested before us. We have broadly discussed this fact from the beginning of the Janmadhyasya shloka of this Bhagavatam. That was the first verse. The tendency to glorify others or to hear others must be turned to the real object of glorification, the Supreme Being, and that will bring happiness. Text 15. Yad anudyasina yuktaha yan udyasina yuktaha karma granti nibbandhanam chindanti kovidas tasya chindanti kovidas tasya kona kuryat kataratim kona kuryat kataratim. And word for word. Yet, which, anudya, remembrance, asina, sword, yuktaha, being equipped with persons, karma, reactionary work, granti, not, nibandhanam, internet, chindanti, cut, kovidaha, intelligent, tasya, his, kaha, who, na, not, kuryat, shall not do, kata, messages, ratim, attention. Bhaktiville says that verse was easy. Some are and some are just not. But here we go. Translation. With sword in hand, intelligent men cut through the labyrinthine knots of reactionary work or karma by remembering the Lord. Therefore, who will not pay attention to his message? Purport. The spiritual spark, that's us, contacted with material elements, creates a knot which must be cut if one wants to be liberated from the actions and reactions of fruitive work. Liberation means freedom from the cycle of reactionary work. This liberation automatically follows for one who constantly remembers the transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead. This is because all activities of the Supreme Lord, his Leela, are transcendental to the modes of the material nature. They are all attractive spiritual activities, and therefore constant association with the spiritual activities of the Supreme Lord gradually spiritualizes the conditioned soul and ultimately severs the knot of material bondage. Liberation from material bondage is therefore a byproduct of devotional service. So Devotees are not seeking liberation. It's a byproduct. We're seeking that prema, that love, that relationship with Krishna. So attainment of spiritual knowledge is not sufficient to ensure liberation. Such knowledge must be overcoated with devotional service, so that ultimately the devotional service alone predominates. Then liberation is possible. Even the reactionary work of the fruitive workers can lead one to liberation when it is overcoated with devotional service. Karma, overcoated with devotional service, is called karma yoga. Similarly, empirical knowledge overcoated with devotional service is called jnana yoga. But pure bhakti yoga is independent of such karma and jnana because it alone cannot only endow one with liberation from the conditional life, but can also award one with the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Therefore, any sensible man or woman who is above the average person with a poor fund of knowledge must constantly remember the personality of Godhead by hearing about him, by glorifying him, by remembering him, and by worshiping him always without cessation. That is the perfect way of devotional service. The Goswamis of Vrindavan, who were authorized by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to preach the bhakti cult, rigidly followed this rule and made immense literatures of transcendental science for our benefit. They have chalked out ways for all classes of men in terms of the different castes and orders of life in pursuance of the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam and similar other authoritative scriptures. Text 16, we're just going right through these. That Bhaktiville says, nice verse. I agree. Nice verse. All right, next verse, Sanskrit, text 16. Shushru shoho, sorry. Shushru shoho, shadadanasya. Sushru sho shadadanasya. So we had one easy one and now one not so easy. Okay, Vasudeva. Bhaktivinoda agrees, yes. Vasudeva kata ruchihi. Vasudeva kata ruchihi. Syan mahatsevaya vipraha. Syan mahatsevaya vipraha. Punyatirtha shevanat. Punyatirtha nishevanat. All right, let's see if we can get that first line down. Shusho sho shraddanasya. Slower that. Vasudeva kataruchi. Syan mahatsevaya vipraha. Yatirtha nishevanat. All right, word for word. Shrushaho, one who is engaged in hearing. Shraddanasya, with care and attention. Vasudeva, in respect to Vasudeva. Kata, message. Ruchihi, affinity. Syat, is made possible. Mahat sevaya, by service rendered to pure devotees. Vipraha, O twice born. Punyatirtha, those who are cleansed of all vice. Nishevanat, by service. Translation. Comment, Bhaktivinoda says, it's funny that the difficult word means with care and attention. Oh, well, that is ironic, isn't it? I guess we have to have care and attention when saying it, huh? All right. Twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity by hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Purport. The conditioned life of a living being is caused by his revolting against the Lord. There are men called Deva, or godly living beings, and there are men called Asuras, or demons, who are against the authority of the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter, a vivid description of the Asuras is given, in which it is said that the Asuras are put into lower and lower states of ignorance, life after life, and so sink to the lower animal forms and have no information of the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. These asuras are gradually rectified into God consciousness by the mercy of the Lord's liberated servitors in different countries according to the Supreme Lord's will. Such devotees of God are very confidential associates of the Lord, and when they come to save the human society from the dangers of godlessness, they are known as the powerful incarnations of the Lord, as sons of the Lord, or as servants of the Lord, or as associates of the Lord. But none of them falsely claim to be God themselves. This is a blasphemy declared by the Asuras, and the demoniac followers of such Asuras also accept pretenders as God or his incarnation. In the revealed scriptures, there is definite information on the incarnation of God. No one should be accepted as God or an incarnation of God unless he is confirmed by the revealed scriptures. A question from Bhaktiville. If we are in the material world, didn't we all start as asuras? No, we did not. But depending on our different urges and inclinations, one way or the other. Also in this paragraph, Prabhupada points out that you can use the scriptures to verify whether a person is an incarnation of God. And one of the funniest stories I ever heard was someone declared that they were God, and the devotee said, or even, I don't know who, Prabhupada or the devotee, asked them to show his universal form, which is the one that shows, a gajillion heads and a gajillion arms doing all the work of the universe, right? So that's always a good response to that one. All right, so back to the text. The servants of God are to be respected as God by the devotees who actually want to go back to Godhead. Such servants of God are called Mahatmas, or the Tirthas. A Tirtha is a sacred place, and they preach according to particular place and time. The servants of God urge people to become devotees of the Lord. They never tolerate being called God. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was God himself, according to the indications of the revealed scriptures, but he played the part of a devotee. People who knew him to be God addressed him as God, but he used to block his ears with his hands and chant the name of Lord Vishnu. He strongly protested against being called God, although undoubtedly he was God himself. The Lord behaves so to warn us against unscrupulous men who take pleasure in being addressed as God. The servants of God come to propagate God consciousness, and intelligent people should cooperate with them in every respect. By serving the servant of God, one can please God more than by directly serving the Lord. The Lord is more pleased when he sees that his servants are properly respected, because such servants risk everything for the service of the Lord, and so are very dear to him. The Lord declares in Bhagavad Gita 1869 that no one is dearer to him than one who risks everything to preach his glory. By serving the servants of the Lord, one gradually gets the quality of such servants. Thus one becomes qualified to hear the glories of God. The eagerness to hear about God is the first qualification of a devotee for entering the kingdom of God. Oh, here it is. Here's my verse that I like. Text 17, Sanskrit. Shrinvatam svakata Krishna. Shrinvatam svakata Krishna. Punya Shravana Kirtanaha. Punya Shravana Kirtanaha. Hridyanta Stohyabadrani. Hridyanta Stohyabadrani. Vidunoti Suhritsatam. Vidunoti Suhritsatam. This is cracking like that. All right, let's sing the whole thing together. Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridyantasto Hyabadrani Vidunoti Suhritsatam. Word for word. Shrinvatam, those who have developed the urge to hear the message of Svakataha, by his own words, Krishnaha, personality of Godhead, Punya, virtues, Shravana, hearing, Kirtanaha, chanting, Hridya Antastaha, within one's heart, he, certainly, Apadrani, desire to enjoy matter, Vidhunoti, cleanses, Suhrit, benefactor, Satam, of the truthful. Translation. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who relishes his messages, which are in themselves virtuous, properly heard and purport. Messages, maybe that's a question. Is there a similar verse in the Gita? I don't know. I will let you look for it. How about that? Give that to you for homework. Could be. It's such a good verse. Messages of the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna are non-different from him. Whenever, therefore, offenseless hearing of God is undertaken, it is to be understood that Lord Krishna is present there in the form of transcendental sound, which is as powerful as the Lord personally. Just want to take a moment to say, he says, Lord Krishna is present there in the form of transcendental sound. So Krishna is there, sitting there next to you, standing in front of you. He's there with you. And wherever Krishna is, there's Radharani. So she's there with him. And wherever they are, all of their associates are there also. So Gita, Vishaka, Samba, Balaram, Subhadra, Arjuna, all those people, they're all there. The cows, the trees, the grass, the bugs, they're all there. Everyone is there. So if you can envision this while you're reading, while you're chanting, Bhaktiville says, like being in Vrindavan. Yes, exactly like being in Vrindavan. You can envision this while you're chanting or reading. You will never, ever feel alone. You are always accompanied and protected by Krishna, always. So I just want to point that out there, that this is a very important point. Bhaktiville says that's the best part of japa. Yes, Krishna is there. Everyone is there. So not even so much as feeling alone, but feeling loved, feeling resplendent, feeling fulfilled, all of those things. Krishna is there. All right. So let me just reiterate. It is to be understood that Lord Krishna is present there in the form of transcendental sound, which is as powerful as the Lord personally. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his Shikshastakam, declares clearly that the holy name of the Lord has all the potencies of the Lord, and that he has endowed his innumerable names with that same potency. There is no rigid fixture of time, and anyone can chant the holy name with attention and reverence at his convenience, even when you're sleeping or when you wake up, as you go to sleep, anytime. The Lord is so kind to us that he can present before us personally in the form. Oh, let me read that over. The Lord is so kind to us that he can be present before us personally in the form of transcendental sound. But unfortunately, we have no taste for hearing and glorifying the Lord's name and activities. We have already discussed developing a taste for hearing and chanting the holy sound. It is done through the medium of service to the pure devotee of the Lord. The Lord is reciprocally respondent to his devotees. When he sees that a devotee is completely sincere in getting admittance to the transcendental service of the Lord, and thus becomes eager to hear about him, the Lord acts from within the devotee in such a way that the devotee may easily go back to him. This next sentence is my all-time favorite sentence of anything, anywhere. The Lord is more anxious to take us back into his kingdom than we can desire. The best. That's the best sentence ever. I have it highlighted in my book. Most of us do not desire at all to go back to Godhead. Only very few men want to go back to Godhead, but anyone who desires to go back to Godhead, Sri Krishna helps in all respects. Bhaktiville says, sometimes I challenge him on that. You think you want to go back more than he does, then he wants you to come back. One cannot enter into the kingdom of God unless one is perfectly cleared of all sins. The material sins are products of our desires to lord it over material nature. It is very difficult to get rid of such desires. Women/men and wealth are very difficult problems for the devotee making progress on the path back to Godhead. Many stalwarts in the devotional line fell victim to these allurements, thus retreated from the path of liberation. But when one is helped by the Lord himself, the whole process becomes as easy as anything by the divine grace of the Lord. To become restless in the contact of women/men and wealth is not an astonishment, because every living being is associated with such things from a remote time, practically immemorial, and it takes time to recover from this foreign nature. But if one is engaged in hearing the glories of the Lord, gradually he realizes his real position. By the grace of God, such a devotee gets sufficient strength to defend himself from the state of disturbances. Gradually, all disturbing elements are eliminated from his mind. Looks like a good place to stop. So the Lord is more anxious to take us back into his kingdom than we can desire. Unless you're Bhaktiville. He challenges Krishna on that particular point. All right, my friends, I hope that you've enjoyed this reading tonight. It was certainly enjoyable for me to read. I always appreciate your association and appreciate Bhaktiville and Bhaktiville and Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.